Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salamun alaikum and good day to all of you. My paper is entitled Mutahhari is Mutahhari, the making of a thinker. A cursory examination of the 22-volume Sahifeh-ye Imam, the largest ever compiled anthology of Imam Khomeini's speeches, messages, interviews, religious decrees, permissions, and letters, reveals that the martyred Ayatollah Professor Murtada Mutahhari undoubtedly occupies a distinct station in the sight of the great leader of the Islamic Revolution and the idol breaker of the 20th century. Against this backdrop, a critical examination of the viewpoint of the founder of the Islamic Republic on the late professor in the light of Sahifeh-ye Imam is the principal burden of my paper. This paper sought to know the personality of Ayatollah Sheikh Murtada Mutahhari as a thinker in the words of his teacher Imam Khomeini as recorded in Sahifeh-ye Imam. In particular, this article attempted to address the following queries, thus: 1. As the sole reference source of the study, what is Sahifeh-ye Imam? To what extent is it reliable as an academic source of inquiry? Number 2. Chronologically, what are the accounts of Sahifeh-ye Imam on Mutahhari? Number 3. Analytically, what aspects of Mutahhari's personality can be deduced from these chronological accounts of Sahifeh-ye Imam on him? Diagrammatically, this research inquiry can be presented as follows. This is the first diagram that we have, wherein we can see the general concept, the operationalization of the concept, as well as the time frame. Initially, this paper gave a bird's eye view of the Sahifeh-ye Imam, the sole source of account of the present analytical survey, and examined its academic credibility. Then lengthy chronological accounts of the Sahifeh-ye Imam on Ayatollah Mutahhari are made. In these accounts, only the actual words and writings of Imam Khomeini to or about Mutahhari are quoted. Thereafter, an analysis of the chronological accounts is conducted to arrive at an overall picture of Ayatollah Mutahhari in the words of Imam Khomeini. In the conclusion, the findings of the study, which are actually the restatement of the answers to the points of clarification, are stated. The Sahifeh-ye Imam. Published by the Tehran-based Institute for the Compilation and Publication of Imam Khomeini's works in the year 1378 Solar Hijra, or 1999, named as the year of Imam Khomeini, being the centennial year of his birth, the Sahifeh-ye Imam has been so far the largest anthology of Imam Khomeini's literary works, including his family-related letters, religious permissions, socio-political letters and telegrams, decrees and orders, messages, speeches and statements, interviews and dialogues, and others. So it is only proper to take this anthology as the sole source in objectively examining the personality of Mutahhari, the thinker, in the light of his teacher's written communication with and views on him. These benevolent views on him are consistent from the first volume of the anthology up to the 21st volume. In sum, the following table shows the chronological instances of the Imam's direct communication with the late Ayatullah Mutahhari and mentioning of his name or description of his personality. As we can see, from volume 1 up to 3, and then from 7 to 9, and then from 11 to 11 and 12, and then from 14 to 16, and finally 19 and 21. All these volumes made mention of Shahid Mutahhari, or had a communication, the Imam had a communication with him. A close scrutiny of the Sahifeh-ye Imam's chronological and descriptive accounts of Mutahhari shows that the martyred Ayatollah Professor Mutahhari undoubtedly occupies a distinct station in the sight of the great leader of the Islamic Revolution and the idol breaker of the 20th century. In the words of Ayatollah Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Hussein Beheshti, I think the reason for the Imam to hold such Professor Mutahhari in such high esteem and respect was not only because the professor had been a student of him, but more as a close friend. The Imam believed in his knowledge and virtues, and was confident of his way of thinking and his discernment of all things. Unquote. One, as a trustworthy representative. According to the principles of Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh, any expenditure of the religious payments and management of the Islamic financial affairs during the period of occultation of the 12th Imam is not authorized without the permission of a fully qualified jurist or faqih. So it has been customary for the Maraji Taqlid to issue letters of authorization for the qualified persons. These authorizations are granted by persons who meet the criteria of authority of imitation or marja'iyah in terms of general qualifications, devoutness and commitment, or their qualification is certified by two just informed persons. An index of the religious authorizations issued by Imam Khomeini during the period of his stay in the holy city of Najaf at the end of Volume 1 indicates that Ayatollah Mutahhari, apart from being an official representative of the Imam in the financial and religious law affairs, belonged to the first category of representatives, that is, the prominent and pious scholars or persons who were closely in contact with and known to him. Two, as a close associate and confidant. Apart from being a trusted proxy in financial and religious law affairs, the Imam's personal letter to Ayatollah Mutahhari on the death of the latter's father and another letter concerning the regrettable state of affairs in the religious seminary at that time exemplify that the latter is also a close associate and confidant of the former. The following lines reveal the depth of communication between the former, who was then in Najaf, Iraq, and the latter then residing in Tehran. I would like to say that I have received your esteemed letter. Most of the topics that have been mentioned were and are under consideration. There is no remedy except that the gentlemen who are acceptable and who, with respect to knowledge, can be provided, stay in the seminaries and take hold of the initiative. You are in a better position to select these people. These digressions must be prevented in practice. This should be accomplished with the efforts of the concerned notables, including yourself. Three, as a beloved son and student. Being known and close to him for more than 20 years, the late Mutahhari is a beloved son and student for the Imam. I have lost a very beloved son and mourn for him, for he was among the personalities that were considered to be the achievement of my life. With the martyrdom of this honorable son, it is a blow dealt on the beloved Islam that nothing can substitute. I have lost a beloved child who was a part of my being." Unquote. Mutahhari was a dear son to me. Unquote. After his arrival, that is the arrival of Ayatollah Burujurdi in I have to teach jurisprudence in the highest level, that is Darsul Kharij, upon the request of such gentlemen as the late Mr. Mutahhari. Unquote. This affection to a beloved son and student can also be discerned in the Imam's replies to the messages of condolences. Equally, the Imam's offer of the memorial note of Mutahhari to his daughter-in-law is also revealing. 4. As an outstanding author and man of knowledge. As his student for many years, Mutahhari is remarkably acknowledged by the Imam as an outstanding author and man of knowledge, as the following quotations from the Sahifeh-ye Imam indicate. I express my condolences and congratulations to Islam, to its exalted prophets, to the nation of Islam, and in particular to the combatant people of Iran for the sorrowful loss of the honorable thinker, philosopher, and esteemed faqih or jurist, the late Hajj Sheikh Murtada Mutahhari. May his soul rest in peace. Condolences on the martyrdom of a man who was peerless in Islamology and various Islamic studies and the glorious Quran studies. With the martyrdom of this immortal scholar, it is a blow dealt on the beloved Islam that nothing can substitute. Unquote. I received the telegram of condolence of Your Excellency, which was transmitted on the sorrowful martyrdom of the late Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin Professor Mutahhari. The martyrdom of one of the greatest scholars of Islam was a loss for the world of Islam and for all the Muslims. Number 5, as an eloquent speaker and combatant alim. Apart from being a man of the pen, the Imam has recognized the late Mutahhari as an eloquent speaker and combatant alim or scholar, as substantiated by the following statements. Condolence on the martyrdom of a personage who struggled ferociously with deviations and perversions. Mutahhari, who was peerless in the power of oratory, has departed and joined the exalted souls. The orators, of course, should also come to the university. I suggest that Mr. Sayyid Ali Khamenei come. If possible, please go and tell him on my behalf to come in the place of Mr. Mutahhari. Number 6, as a dedicated and pious servant of Islam and the nation. In terms of general service to the people and religion, in the view of the Imam, Mutahhari is a dedicated and pious servant of Islam and the nation, as he said, condolence on the martyrdom of a personage who spent his noble and precious life in the cause of the sacred objectives of Islam. Mutahhari, who was fearless in purity of soul and strength of faith, has departed and joined the ranks of the exalted souls. He was a man who had toiled for his nation, for this nation. As an epitome of martyrdom and self-sacrifice and reviver of the movement. In many instances, the Imam highlighted the point that Shahid Mutahhari is an epitome of martyrdom and self-sacrifice as well as a reviver of the movement. Our movement was resurrected. All sections of the people of Iran started life all over again. If it had developed lethargy or a weakness, it was resurrected. Was it not because of the martyrdom of this great man? And had this great man died in his bed, this would not have been substantiated. Outside Iran also, the incident of the death of the late Mr. Mutahhari, which justifiably was a great loss for us and for the whole nation of Iran, as you are aware, was a loss too. They broadcast on the radio stations in Pakistan and in such place everywhere. It has created a wave. These people too are making a mistake by killing Mr. Mutahhari. Eight, as a furqan or criterion and acid test. Viewing Mutahhari as with the truth and the truth with Mutahhari, the Imam considered him a furqan or criterion and acid test. For example, for him, the assassination of Mutahhari is a standing criterion that distinguishes those who are really serving Islam and the people on one hand, and those who saboteurs and conspirators aiming to uproot the religion. They have assassinated our important personalities, and they perceive that with their assassination, things will go their way. This assassination of Martyr Murtada Mutahhari has proven that the more blood the people of Iran see and the more hardship they suffer, the stronger they become. Finding out what types of groups are trying to leave the clergy out, as they killed the very clergies who had led the movement to victory at the beginning of the constitutional revolution. This is the very same conspiracy. In those days, they assassinated Sayyid Abdullah Behbahani and the late Nuri. And then they changed the course of the people's movement. This is that very same plot for which they killed Mutahhari today. And they will kill me tomorrow and kill somebody else the day after that. Nine, as a multidimensional and exceptional figure. Mutahhari's multidimensionality and exceptional figure has not only escaped from the Imam's notice. In his words, the late Mr. Mutahhari was a person who embodied different aspects. The service that has been rendered by the late Mutahhari to the youth and others has been done by only a few. All the literary works he has are all excellent without exception. I know nobody about whom I could say that all his works without exception are excellent. Without any exception, all his works are excellent, gearing towards the molding of man. He has rendered service to the country. Amidst the state of suppression, this prominent man has done great services. By the truth of the noble messenger, may God include him in the company of the noble messenger. From the foregoing, it can be deduced that based on reliable and authentic works and documents as recorded in Sahifeh-ye Imam, the great leader of the Islamic Revolution has benevolent views of Ayatollah Sheikh Murtada Mutahhari, and that these favorable views had been consistent from his acquaintanceship up to the time after Mutahhari's martyrdom. For the Imam, Shahid Mutahhari is more than a trusted representative, a close associate and confidant, a beloved son and student, an outstanding author and man of knowledge, an eloquent speaker and combatant alim, a dedicated and pious servant of Islam and the nation, and a personification of martyrdom and self-sacrifice, reviver of the movement, as well as a furqan or criterion and acid test. Indeed, it can be said that for him, Mutahhari cannot be confined to a single dimension, as he is an embodiment of a totality. Mutahhari is Mutahhari. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.